From starting off her career with a first-round knockout to ending it with a perfect unanimous decision, here's why no one will ever be as good as Amanda Nunes. It all started back in UFC 163, when the Lioness made her debut in her home country of Brazil, facing off against Sheila Gaff. Gaff had some fire in her belly, charging out of the gate, looking to make a statement like she did in her previous fight against Sarah McMahon. But little did she know what was about to hit her. Nunes quickly turned the tables on Gaff, taking her down like she'd never seen before, and unleashed a barrage of elbows that looked like they'd hurt. The fight was called off by the ref at just 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the first round. That's how quickly Amanda destroyed her opponent. And even though this was her debut in the UFC, the win was her 7th submission out of 8 fights by KO or TKO. Let that sink in for a moment. She made history that day, making Sheila the first women's fighter to go 0-2 in the UFC. Everyone thought she was coming in as your average striker, but Nunes proved she was an all-rounder who trains with the best in the world. She's got those jiu-jitsu and judo skills she needs to win, and when it comes to ground and pound, just forget about it. And considering this was just her first official bout, you can imagine how much better the second one was. It went down at UFC Fight Night 31, as Amanda stepped into the octagon with Germaine Durandamy on the other side, a striker who was just coming off a tough debut match against Julie Kedzie. Now, the start of this fight was a bit cautious, but Nunes didn't waste a second when she saw an opportunity, taking advantage of a kick from the Iron Lady and quickly taking the fight to the ground. Durandamy tried to resist the takedown, but Nunes was determined, and eventually she secured the mount position. From there, she played it smart by being patient, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and once she found it, she rained down punches and elbows. Although most of those strikes were blocked by Durandamy's defense, Amanda didn't let that discourage her. Even after getting multiple warnings from the ref, Durandamy failed to improve her position because of Amanda's relentless assault. And just like that, at the 3-minute and 56-second mark of the first round, the ref had no choice but to stop the fight. Another submission from Amanda. The Lioness dominated that second win, using her fight IQ to adjust to her opponent's fighting style on the fly, knowing better than to get into a striking battle with Durandamy, a striking legend. Nope, she wanted to remind everyone about her ground game dominance, and boy, did she deliver. Once she got herself in that mount position, it was already game over, and the ending was just a mere formality. Her finishes got even better with time. And fast forward to UFC Fight Night 73, Nunes owned Sarah McMahon in that ring. Picture this, McMahon goes for a leg kick but misses, and Amanda takes advantage of the opportunity. She loads up a powerful right hand and lands it right on McMahon's chin. Boom! McMahon drops to her knees, and Nunes wastes no time. She quickly takes her back and advances her position. The icing on the cake? At the 2 minutes and 53-second mark of the first round, the Lioness locks in a rear naked choke on Sarah, and let me tell you, there was no escape for Sarah. She had no choice but to tap out, and the ref stepped in to stop the fight. That was Nunes' second consecutive victory, even after a tough TKO loss to Kat Zingano. What made this win even more impressive was that despite Amanda being considered the underdog during this game, Sarah wasn't a slouch. She'd recently lost a close decision to Miesha Tate, who's a legendary fighter, so Sarah was still considered a really tough opponent in the division. But guess what? When she tried to land a leg kick early in the fight, she fumbled her bag big time. She ended up spinning around, and that was when Amanda struck. She countered with a hard cross that landed right on Sarah's face. Ouch! And that's not all. Nunes followed her to the ground, showing her killer instinct and finishing the fight in style. If you think Nunes couldn't get any more iconic, think again, because she also took down Ronda Rousey at the main event for UFC 207. Rousey was coming into that brawl as a former champ, who took more than a year off after losing to Holly Holm. And while Rousey was off doing who knows what, the bantamweight title changed hands not once, but twice. It went from Holm to Miesha Tate, and then finally to Nunes. Now, Rousey decides to make a comeback. But guess what? She doesn't even bother with any pre-fight hype, even though the UFC was all about Ronda, ignoring their reigning champ, the Lioness. That got Amanda super frustrated, and she was dead set to show the world what she's made of. And man, did she deliver! Right from the start, Nunes landed a powerful punch that rocked Rousey's world. From there, it was a non-stop barrage of punches. Amanda couldn't miss. the ref had to step in after just 48 seconds to save Ronda from more punishment. It was a flawless victory because Ronda had no defense, not a single answer to Amanda's relentless assault. And when she spoke to Joe Rogan after the fight, she didn't hold back. Nunes straight up said that she knew she was going to beat the shit out of Ronda Rousey and that she's the best on the planet. Damn right. The crowd may not have been on Nunes' side, but that didn't matter one bit. She was the champ, and she made history right there by being the first person in over a year to defend the UFC Women's Bantamweight title. Even before she stepped into that octagon, Amanda knew it was her time to shine. She had a little pre-fight chat where she acknowledged Rousey's past glory, thanking her for her time, but then made it crystal clear saying, "I'm the champion here, the Lioness." And let me tell you, she roared like no other, but if you think this was her most legendary moment, you're far from it. Just take a look at her most legendary moment at UFC 232, where she ended the unstoppable Chris Cyborg and earned her name in MMA history. Amanda Nunes did something that no other woman has done before, and became the first female fighter to win titles in 2 divisions by knocking out the reigning featherweight champ, Cyborg. Let's break it down. The fight started pretty much as expected. Cyborg, known for her aggressive approach, landed a powerful right hand that hit Amanda hard. At that moment, it seemed like Cyborg had the upper hand. She went all out, throwing a flurry of punches at Amanda, just like she did in her previous fights. But little did she know, Nunes was ready for her. Boom! Out of nowhere, Amanda landed a clean right hand, and that caught Cyborg off guard. That punch stopped Chris dead in her tracks, and she started backpedaling while Amanda kept landing more shots, leaving Cyborg practically defenseless. And then, with one final devastating blow, Cyborg hit the ground. That knockout marked Chris's first loss ever since she started her career back in 2005. In her post-fight speech, Amanda made it clear that she's the real deal. She proudly said that she knew she'd be the first female 2-division champ in the UFC. And guess what? She delivered on her promise. Not only that, but she also became only the 3rd fighter ever to hold titles in 2 divisions at the same time. She was so excited that day, she hopped out of the octagon right after the fight ended and went straight to Dana White, and even he couldn't deny her greatness. He placed not 1, but 2 belts on Nunes, just showing how amazing she was that day. With all the adrenaline pumping through her veins, Nunes even said that she deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame and no one can argue with her there, considering she went out in style too, after her latest and final fight against Mexico's Irene Aldana at UFC 289. It was a one-sided beatdown from start to finish, just like most of Amanda's brawls, and Irene didn't stand a chance. The judges' scores proved it, 50-44, 50-44, and 50-43, all in favor of Nunes. She dominated Irene for a whole 25 minutes, and after the fight, when Amanda announced her retirement, the entire MMA world was shocked. Fighters were speechless, and even bantamweight fighter Aljamain Sterling tweeted out congratulating Amanda for her amazing career. Middleweight fighter Derek Brunson joined in too, saying that he wouldn't be surprised if the women in the weight classes that Amanda ruled were popping bottles and throwing parties after hearing the news about her retirement. That's how big of a threat she was. So, from ending her career with a perfect unanimous decision to starting it off with a first-round knockout, that was why no one will ever be as good as Amanda Nunes.